Vredefort is a town not far from Johannesburg in South Africa. It is also the name of a meteorite impact site. UNESCO declared the area a World Heritage Site in 2005. It is not only the oldest meteorite impact site on our planet, but probably the largest. Geologists have narrowed the date of impact down to 2023 million years ago. The dome is a World Heritage Site because it's accessible for research. Vredefort exposes what happened many millions of years ago. Sometimes the inevitable happens. Every year, some 15,000 tons of celestial debris enter our atmosphere. Canada was devastated almost 2,000 million years ago when a meteorite about 15 kilometers wide struck at the Sudbury Basin. Life on our planet suffered a massive blow when a meteorite hit the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico 66 million years ago. The shock waves spiraling from the town of Chicxulub killed all the dinosaurs on Earth. Our planet suffered many smaller meteorite hits during its existence. Chelyabinsk Oblast, Russia. An object entered Earth's atmosphere at more than 60,000 kilometers per hour. It exploded 25 kilometers above the surface, and the shock waves carried a shower of meteorite fragments. Imagine Vredefort 2,000 million years ago. Scientists say it was probably a shallow, lifeless lake covering stacked layers of rock, just like a sandwich. On top was the Transvaal supergroup, a compilation of sedimentary rock types such as dolomite. Volcanic Ventersdorp lavas formed the second layer. The Witwatersrand supergroup, with conglomerates containing gold, made up the third layer. Granite was at the bottom end of this geological sandwich. Imagine a meteorite the size of Table Mountain traveling at 20 kilometers per second. Well, this massive object struck Vredefort Dome and destroyed all forms of life. The impact, or first phase, created a massive dent in the Earth. The second phase was an immediate rebound that brought the deepest rock layers to the surface. Lastly, erosion set in, and over millions of years, many crater-like features had been weathered away.
And they could draw the outer rim of the crater. They could also determine the geometric center of the crater. Where is the geometric center? The geometric center, if you look that way, you see on the horizon there's a row of tall trees. See the trees? Now just 3 kilometers from there, 13 kilometers east of Vredefort and 18 kilometers south of Parijs, there is the geometric center of the crater. The size of the dome was 80 to 90 kilometers in diameter, which is those hills would have been included in the dome. Now if you look to the far horizon that way, you see some hills coming out on the horizon. You see them? Follow them to the left. Here they look big because we're close to them. Go on following them, there they disappear. So that's the ring structure, And the hills that we see, those bare rock faces, that's the first ring of overturned quartzite formations that followed. That's the ripple effect that followed after the central uplift. So now you've got an impression of the size of the crater. Here we stand in the center.
Meteorite impact structures are complex, and they're made up of concentric rings. The same rippling effect is seen when one drops an object into water. The inner crater caused by the impact was roughly 100 kilometers in diameter. The rippling effect extended to almost 300 kilometers in diameter. The ridges near Vredefort and Parijs form the core and inner circle of the dome. A second circle is seen in the hills in the vicinity of Vogel. This ring reaches past the Gatsrand near Carltonville in the north to Kroonstad in the south, where it lies buried underneath much younger Karoo age sedimentary rocks. Remnants of the third ring may be observed in a line from Ventersdorp to Krugersdorp. Due to erosion, the rest of this ring is not clearly visible today.
The impact happened 2,023 million years ago. But let's go closer and have a look at the rock itself.
What about rocks that melted in the scorching heat? Such rocks are present in the dome, and they're called granophyre. You can identify granophyre by looking for inclusions of other rocks that were taken up into the molten mess.
Look at this one. Here you've got a nice piece, a chunk of granite rock. And this finer texture is quartzite rock. So it's mainly granite and quartzite that's contained in the matrix of granophyre.
It looks like plates stacked in a dishwasher. These upturned and overturned ridges are typical remnants of meteorite impacts, as well as volcanic eruptions. In the meteorite's case, the horizontal layers were pushed up vertically during the rebound phase.
The impact took place. Now, after the impact, with the rock formations that was there, the granite at the bottom and the quartzite on top of the granite, that was the second layer of rock layers in the Earth's crust then. And when the impact took place, and after the impact, the uplift came. That uplift pulled the granite rock to the surface where it is now on the surface. The quartzite that was on top of the granite, we're looking at quartzite rock here, was pulled up further and overturned to land at this angle that you see. So all these hills, the first ring, the second ring, and all the rings are overturned quartzite formations. This is quartzite rock, same rock as the one that we stopped at on the road there. So there are several stone wall enclosures on this site. Now this used to be a Stone Age settlement, and the indigenous African people who occupied a site like this were in this area Tswana people. One of the indigenous African tribes or nations of South Africa. Tswana, you know, the Tswana, Sotho, Zulu, Xhosa, etc., and Venda. But this area was occupied by Tswana people. And this would have been a cattle crop. The layout of a settlement like this is called a CCP by archaeologists. Now a CCP means central cattle pattern. So the layout is a central cattle pattern, which means they kept the cattle in the center, and then the people would have lived around the cattle kraals in their structures. in order to keep their cattle safe at night. Because during the day they went out for grazing with herdsmen, and every night they would bring the cattle in, and then this enclosure, the one we're standing in, would have been probably the cattle kraal of one family. That one, the cattle kraal of another family and another family, so various families could have been settled here. It was just before, you know, the Great Trek took place in 1838. And before that, there was a guy from Zululand. He was the half-brother of Shaka, King Shaka. He didn't want to serve under King Shaka, and he broke away from Shaka with his followers, and they moved into the interior up till about the central Free State, and from there they turned north through this area. And what this guy did, he was actually killing everybody in front of him. He was a fighter, he was a marauder, and he took the women and children with him. And by way of that, he actually established a new tribe, which was later known as the Matebele. And we know now that Matebele land in Zimbabwe is where they eventually settled, after the Voortrekkers and the Swana tribes drove him across the Limpopo River into what is now called Zimbabwe, and they settled there. And the area around Bulawayo in Zimbabwe is still known as Matebele land, and the people there speak a Zulu language. So when the European settlers moved into this area, there were no people here, so they could settle and lay out their farms and started farming and settled. So that's a bit of the history of a place like this. Cork.
Cork.
It's a cork bush, and it bears a bunch of, it smells like what? Some spice.
Yeah, but I cannot see the name.
Thyme.
Curry.
Curry.
It's a curry bush. It's got the color and the smell of curry. This is about just over 100 years old, because this structure was built by the British during the World War, and this was an observation post used by the British Army. We started out in Parijs this morning. That's where Parijs is. That's where Vredefort is. And the geometric center of the crater is more or less here. Closer to Vredefort than to Parijs. So we went on that road, we turned over there. Our first stop was here. And there I indicated to you where Vredefort was and where the geometric center of the crater is. And I showed you this ring structure of hills from where we stood there this morning. And then we went on with this road. And here we stopped in this main first reach of the concentric rings. And then we went on with that road and we crossed the river here at Schoemansdrift. We crossed the river there, and then we went on to that road, and all the way we went in there to where we stopped at that Iron Age settlement in the hill, on the hill there. And then we came back and we went down, and that's where we are now, at Venterskroon. So from there we'll be going onto this road, and our last stop will be there.
Some rocks were pulverized into a substance called pseudo-tachelite by geologists. Tachelite is a volcanic glass, and pseudo says that it is not real tachelite. Marlin Mine is a worked-out granite mine near Kopjeskraal in the district of Parijs. The granite, with its inclusions of pseudo-tachelite, is a geologist's dream, and it shows that pulverized rocks were forced into the cracks and crevices caused by the meteorite's impact.
We're standing on granite, which is a basement rock, coming from the bottom layer of the rock formations in the Earth's crust. On the surface here, as a result of the central uplift after the impact, and exposed on the surface after 2,000 million years of erosion that took place, to expose outcrops like this one and that one over there and many others. There you can see again the power that was created by the impact and the explosion. And we find the same phenomenon, the pseudo-tachelite in granite, in all the granite in the floor of the crater. In the granite over there, even the granite in the bed of the Vaal River, we find the same phenomenon. And for breaking the smaller blocks away, they drilled holes like that, which they filled with explosive to break the blocks away. You see the drill marks on the blocks all over. This quarry, the name of this quarry is Salvamento, named after the owner of the quarry, Mr. Salvamento, who was an Italian guy.